Before I get started, last time we'll ask you to raise your hand, but does everyone know what a twink is? Does anybody not have any idea? Oh, okay, it's like a younger gay man, like super skinny and like parties or whatever. Okay, that's okay, great. What to do when you discover a twink on your fire escape? If you awake one morning to discover a twink on your fire escape, do not panic. Twinks are naturally drawn to fire escapes, and when handled appropriately, can be removed from them with relative ease. And you can take comfort knowing that those who have had a twink on their fire escape still go on to live rich and full lives afterwards. I should know, I am one. The twink on my fire escape was a standard twink, 19 as all twinks are, no more than 160 pounds. He worked part-time, twinks never work full-time, at a Swedish breakfast restaurant. I won't reveal the name of this Swedish breakfast restaurant, but they do have exceptional cinnamon rolls. Yeah. The twink on my fire escape was a host at this Swedish breakfast restaurant, and that is how we met. The twink sat at my party and smiled at me. I'll never know if his smile was specifically targeted at me or was simply a byproduct of the general amiable demeanor required of a host at a Swedish breakfast restaurant. As I left, I gave the twink my phone number, letting him know he could text me if he wanted to. It's important to not be aggressive when first interacting with a twink, as they scare easily and are aerodynamically engineered to run very quickly. I was calm enough, and the twink texted me later that night, and we met for coffee. When I arrived, the twink was reading a book or pretending to read a book. He had ordered a coffee and had a Ziploc bag of candied almonds. Over the course of coffee and the occasional almond, I learned additional details about the twink. He had just moved to Chicago and had dropped out of college since it just wasn't for him. I'd later learned high school also just wasn't for him, since he'd skipped almost half of his senior year. Being 19 in a new city, the twink was well below the legal drinking age, and he was either not clever enough to find a fake ID, or looked so young no bouncer would believe even the most realistic of fake. Over the next 2 weeks, I grew to like the twink. We watched cabaret and drank Cabernet and cooked pizzas. Sometimes we danced to Madonna. Twinks are very good at dancing to Madonna. And a neighbor asked us to keep the music down. During our courtship, I never suspected the twink would become a twink that would wind up on my fire escape, but no one ever suspects their twink will be a twink on a fire escape. On the night the twink earned his name, I invited him to a nearby bar that wouldn't card him. We arrived and began drinking. I had a beer, he had a martini. I had a second beer, he had 2 vodka shots. I was ready to go home. He thought he was going to stay out for a while. I left, a bit disappointed I wouldn't be sharing the rest of the night with him, but little did I know I would be sharing most of the rest of the night with him. At 2 a.m., I awoke to a series of missed calls and slurred voicemails. Twinks are by nature very thin and very quickly become intoxicated when drinking. Concerned about him, I got dressed and took a cab to his apartment. He was without keys and screaming at his neighbor by name to let him into the building. I attempted to reason with him, drunk twink logic being very difficult to reason with, and then began to encourage, carry him to the cab. The cab driver, sensing how drunk the twink was, drove away. Cab drivers and drunk twinks are sworn enemies. I continued to encourage the twink to come to my apartment 30 minutes and 4 flights of stairs away. 30 minutes and 4 flights of stairs later, I was able to put the twink on my couch. This story, however, is not about a twink on a couch. I offered him water and he promptly went to the bathroom. I assumed he was going to vomit, a skill twinks are born with, but I heard the shower start. What follows I like to imagine from my roommate's perspective. Tyler? Tyler? Tyler, buddy, are you there? She would awake too. I was calling to the twink from the locked bathroom door and he would not respond. I worried he might have passed out in the shower, gotten hurt, or drowned. I started to break down the bathroom door. It gave in on the 3rd hit of my shoulder and revealed a closed shower curtain and running water. I pulled back the shower curtain like the villain in Psycho to reveal not a passed-out twink or a hurt twink or a drowned twink, but no twink at all. In the tub were bottles of L'Oreal Paris and lotions and conditioners that had fallen from the windowsill. The windowsill that sat in front of a window that was now open. The twink was gone. I looked out the window. The fire escape on this older building was a series of ledges outside each floor's window, connected by a straight vertical metal ladder. The twink had descended 2 of these ledges. But like all good fire escapes, this one ended a full 20 feet above the black cement alleyway below. I climbed down and held the Twink on the fire escape. Being January in Chicago, the night was cold, and being a drunk Twink on a fire escape, he was unable to climb back up. I resolved to sit with him until he sobered up. What happened next caught me off guard. In hindsight, it makes perfect sense, but in the moment, it was new. "Just let me go," he stated. "It'll be so much easier." At this point, I realized how dangerous the situation was. 19, in a new city, drunk and lonely, this Twink was considering killing himself. He wanted me to just let him go, so he could just fall 20 feet down into the hard cement and no longer feel so alone. I grabbed the Twink tighter, no longer holding him for comfort, but holding him back from purposely sliding off the ledge. I called up to my roommate, who dialed 911. The men of the Chicago Fire Department used an axe to chop down the fence that blocked the alleyway and hoisted a ladder up to carry us down. Whether a Twink is born a Twink on a fire escape, or if this behavior is thrust upon them, is a question I'll leave to philosophers. All I can do is humbly share the specifics of the Twink on my fire escape as a humble warning to others who interact with Twinks on a semi-regular basis. When morning came 2 hours later, I hadn't slept. I kept watch over the Twink, now a Twink on my couch, to ensure he would not become a Twink on my fire escape again. When he woke up, I recounted to him what had happened. He didn't apologize, but seemed ashamed. We parted ways, exchanged 2 texts, and haven't spoken since. I've often wondered if the Twink on my fire escape is alive today, or if he moved back to Michigan, or if he is still a Twink. I searched his name on Facebook recently. We were never Facebook friends. His number is saved in my phone as Tyler, parentheses, Ann Sathers, close parentheses. But his profile did come up. Current city, West Hollywood, California. I only hope that the neighbors there are kind, the bouncers are strict, and that the fire escapes go all the way to the ground. Thank you.